this episode of That Kingsville Podcast, we talk to Essex Councillor Sherry Bondy. We talk Kingsville High School, or K-12 school, sorry. We talk...
Yeah, we can't call it Kingsville.
It's not. We don't know what it's going to be called. Ooh, teaser. We talk council news, and we talk Soccer Canada. Stay tuned for this episode of That Kingsville Podcast. That Kingsville Podcast is brought to you by Kingsville Brewery. Thank you, Kingsville Brewery, for sponsoring us and our endeavors here. They want to remind you there's 2 weeks left until the Play for AC Pro-Am hockey tournament, and there's only 2 more weeks left to shop their Tank 1 and 2 sale. Purchase of a case of their Tank 1 or 2 beers from their online brew shop. Apply the code P4AC at checkout for $10 off. A portion of all sales go towards the Play for AC and the Windsor Cancer Research Collaboration Fund. Great brews for a great cause. Visit kingsvillebrewery.com or visit the Tap House for further information. Thank you, Kingsville Brewery, for sponsoring That Kingsville Podcast. Welcome to That Kingsville Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Hunt. With me, Kevin Black,
Hello.
Steve Ianson. Gentlemen, here we go. No more masks.
What?
Conditions have been lifted.
I'm so glad we can finally do this podcast maskless. It's been tough. I know how much everyone wants to see our faces, hear our faces.
Yes. Oh, geez.
I shaved for this, so
I could tell. I can pick it up in the condenser. I know that you're fully clean. Anyway, a lot of things starting to happen since the weather's starting to get better. I don't know. I went to a restaurant and there was full capacity, and everything was fine. It was great. I can't wait for the rest of society to kind of testing going away and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, we won't actually discuss the fact that COVID is still a thing.
But it's not a thing. That's over in China now. It's not here yet.
Yeah.
No, hey, it's so far.
Hey, thank God we can't get anyone tested, so we can never find out.
If you get tested, it doesn't exist.
I've forgotten about COVID.
No. Well, jumping ahead slightly, council news, they will be discussing whether or not to repeal their COVID vaccination policy. And in April, they will return to in-person council meetings so that we can attend and visit all of our friends on council in person once again.
Part of my favorite part of covering council was when you could give them death stares.
Yes.
So that's great.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
We won't have to resort to the minutes, which still, to this day, March 28th, 2022, are not updated.
Could we visit the other councillors too, or just the ones that are friends?
Oh! I don't know. Larry, can we be friends, Larry?
Picking on Larry?
Why are you picking on Larry?
Larry's the only one that we don't talk about.
It's because he's just sound at his job.
Oh, he is, and he's caught him. So, anything Cottam related, Larry Patterson is our...
At least someone's looking out for Cottam.
Exactly. Everybody's got to look out for Cottam. They've got a bar. I've heard some good things about that happening at the bank, where the burning building, the one that was on fire, that's where the bar is going, across from the pizzeria.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's more development in
great.
Cottam. Yeah.
Good for Cottam.
Well, so let's get right into our first interview of the podcast, this episode. So, Councillor Sherry Bondy in Essex has a bit of a storied past with how she's been handled in council with regards to this ELK inquisition. So, recently there's been some developments. So, we felt that we should probably go right to the source and find out her insight and what happened and transpired for the story. So, joining us on That Kingsville Podcast, Town of Essex Councillor Sherry Bondy. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Sherry.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So there's been some news. I don't know, now that we don't have a newspaper in the town of Kingsville, we have to rely on social media channels and publications digitally, but we see a lot of your name and ELK in the same sentence. Something going on in Essex, or was there some sort of investigation maybe that was prompted by you? No, I'm being facetious, but a few months ago, you decided that you were going to tackle the issue with regards to ELK, which is a shared municipal business within our community. And there's been some findings. Sherry, can you explain what's transpired?
Sure. So I'll go through a little bit of history. The town of Essex is the sole shareholder of ELK Energy, and I've been on council since 2010. And I've been on the board and off the board, depending on, which term of council it was and whose turn it was. But I've been on the board more than I've been off the board. And the last big application that ELK had to the Ontario Energy Board was in 2017. So every year, all of our utility companies can apply for a small increase in their rates. But every 5 years, they can apply for a larger one. And that's called a cost of service. So the 2017 cost of service with ELK had several issues in it. And I read it. I found it on the OEB website, which is not easy to find. And I spent, several months actually, up late at night, reading, researching, cross-referencing, and it alerted me to several concerns at the utility. So, I tried the proper routes in question at the board level and, basically got the door slammed on me for questioning. So now it's come to light recently, the Ontario Energy Board has just fined the ELK, not a large amount of money, but I don't think it's the amount. It's the statement the Ontario Energy Board is making. So they fined them $5,000 for a lack of record keeping around audit or assets, and asset inspection. So it's kind of a big deal, right? You're operating a utility company. This isn't a small company here. This is, we're talking about the reliability and the safety of our electrical service.
Well, and Sherry, that directly relates to a lot of the complaints that, homeowners, Kingsville businesses, I know obviously Essex residents and Harrow residents as well have had with ELK, that the grid isn't reliable. And really, this shows that there was no one keeping an eye to make sure that equipment was up to snuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I know your Councillor Kim DeYoung in Kingsville, she put forward an excellent motion. And it kind of triggered this too, like it landed on the lap of the ELK board and Essex Council, and it's really well worded. That came forward to our council around October last year, saying that, personal hardships from, businesses and homes due to damage to electrical equipment, customer service issues, working with development issues. So all of those, triggered with, my questioning, your fellow council members questioning has led to this. And Lakeshore has also questioned. I've put on my website, I have a website, sherrybondy.com, and I've put on there, I wrote down word for word what has been said at Kingsville Council and what has been said at Lakeshore Council regarding this file. And it is not just an Essex problem, it's a Kingsville problem and Lakeshore problem too. And we need to address it now.
Now, you're in a unique situation, Sherry, where you're on the board. So you actually get to sit in on some of those meetings and see what the response is and how some of this has happened over the past few years. Did you see this coming, being a board member, that there was some of this work that wasn't happening? Or would you say the board was sort of in the dark, that, the thought was that that the management of the time was doing the proper paperwork, that they were doing the inspections?
So during this term of council, I was on the board for a year and I left. I'm no longer on the board because 5 members of Essex Council are on the board. We're an 8-person council, so that leaves very little councillors on the outside to question. So I left, pushed out, left, whatever you want to call it. We'll leave it at that. But I did try to ask the questions on the inside. I do not believe at the time, things might have changed now, but I do not believe at the time that other board members were digging as deep as I did. I've recently, showed the Mayor Meloche in Essex now how to find the documents on the OEB website. And board administration wasn't very forthcoming with what was going on at the OEB. They may be now. I don't know. The ELK board meetings are closed. Councillors, like shareholders, I'm a shareholder voice now. I don't even have access to that. I cannot ask fellow councillors what's happening at the board level because it's closed. And I've been kind of on my soapbox about that, saying, hey, the town of Essex owns this multi-million-dollar company. And as a shareholder, I can't even ask questions. Like I've asked questions several times, what does your asset management plan look like? Every municipality has one now. All of our roads, our buildings are given ratings. So I took that information and brought it back to ELK. Well, show me what your plan looks like. And I haven't been able to get that answer yet.
Now, back in 2021, there was a little bit of heat that you received via some of your social media posts and whatnot, and there was an investigation by the Integrity Commissioner in Essex. Now, with regards to the findings of the OEB investigation, is there any further recourse that has to be taken with regards to the findings of that report from the Integrity Commissioner?
Well, I will say that, the report with the Integrity Commissioner, I've actually gone to the Ontario Ombudsman about, and I'm waiting to hear back with that. I actually spoke with them today because I believe his report, he didn't do his homework, and he made comments like, if I became mayor, I'd be a maverick mayor. And well, I'd be a well-researched mayor. That'd be one thing. So I think that was inappropriate for him. He was supposed to rule on the documentation at hand. I don't believe he was diligent. I believe he just listened to the former Mayor Larry Snively's opinion on me, which isn't favorable. And we all know why. I was the whistleblower with Larry's election case. That's a whole other podcast.
Other podcast.
So, yeah, that's a whole other one.
Yeah.
So I will never get my money back, but it's not about the money for me. I don't do this job for the money. It's about creating a utility that is healthy and strong. So now, thanks to media like yourself and everybody else who's talking about ELK, the spotlight is on them. So when Mayor Snively brought that complaint to the Integrity Commissioner, he brought my concerns public, because before that, I was just kind of somebody in the corner going, everybody look here, there's a problem, everybody look here. And I wasn't given much validation, but now, everybody sees that my questioning was on point.
Well, you must feel a little bit of vindication.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I think there's more to come. I think we need to I have a notice of motion coming up at this council meeting, because since the former Mayor Larry Snively resigned, we have a vacant seat on ELK. And so, I didn't want another council colleague getting slipped into that position, which almost happened. I believe that we need to change our policies and procedures around how we appoint the ELK board members. We need to look for skill sets and not, council colleagues or friends and family. If you look at the composition of the board, we don't have any terms and references on board limits and board qualifications. Our former mayor is on there, Ron McDermott, and he's been on there, and there's no succession planning. There's no changing of who's the chair, who's the vice chair, and all of those things now need to be looked into.
Now, I know you mentioned at the beginning, Sherry, how the way the process works is that ELK can put in for a large increase every 5 years and then small increases every year. And they did submit their application in February for this year for a $1.80 increase. And I don't know if you've had an opportunity to read some of the supporting documentation for that yet, but one of them is questions back from the OEB, asking questions of ELK, because this time again, their application was deficient, and there were 6 fairly significant questions that came back from the OEB requesting more information from ELK, a lot around accounting. And there was a couple major items in that, and some of them were minor. One was, $1,000 discrepancy, which isn't a lot when you're talking about millions in a utility budget. But there was a couple of classification items there that seemed like they could have had significant impacts on the budget put forward to the OEB. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. I mean, I'm a reporter, not a utility person. But wouldn't you think that after this report came out that they would have had that stuff buttoned down?
Absolutely. And I know that there's been some administrative changes over there, but who's accountable for this at the end of the day, right? Like, it's ultimately the board. In a typical world, the shareholders would say, okay, board, you're out. We're putting in a new board, right? But as a shareholder, again, I can't even question my fellow council colleagues about this, right? They're very defensive. So they also asked for 2 extensions as well with this cost of service. So right away, and every time there was an extension asked, I found it, I looked it up, I emailed the board members. Maybe not the board members, not that aren't Essex councillors, but everybody has been aware of what's been going on this whole time. So to me, it all comes down to accountability. You know, the board is responsible for the CEO, and he or she is responsible for everybody else. So there seems to be, in my opinion, just a lack of accountability to meeting these targets. What happens now? That's the question. And I think that, unfortunately, from everything I've read, and I think that what we're seeing from the Ontario Energy Board right now is just the tip of the iceberg. I think we eventually, in the town of Essex, we need to look at, should we own this utility? Can we do this? Unless we completely wipe out the board, or should we start looking at potentially merging? I'm not sure. Hydro One, Essex Power Line. Let's look at other models. You know, I know that ELK does not have some of the same equipment for backyard. Okay, so you know when you have poles in the backs of subdivisions, I know that other utilities have little machines that can change out poles. ELK linemen physically carry in the poles, so they're not keeping up with technology to allow their employees to do their job. And don't get me wrong, I want to make sure I'm very clear that I have the utmost respect for the front line men and women of ELK Energy.
Well, and I think most businesses and homeowners would say the same. You know, the complaint has always seemed to have been with management and potentially also customer service. It does, you know, if you call or request information about power outages, that can be a little suspect sometimes. What needs to change? How do we fix ELK? Is it full regime change? Is that like selling the utility off? Is that the way that this has to happen? Or do you think that we can do it with a change of board?
I do not believe anything will happen in this term of council. I think we're too entrenched, and, you know, the town of Essex sees ELK as a really good purchase. You know, eventually we'll see dividends, and it's like a feather in our cap, and yay, we own a utility. I kind of see it as, okay, is it worth what it is now when we bought it? You know, our residents, our ratepayers getting reliable hydro? Have we run it into the ground? Is it being operated properly? And those are my concerns, right? It's all great to own it, but are we doing it justice? So that's my question. And my answer to that is no. But I'm one person. So I think we need to look at it as a whole and say, okay, you know, can we look at appointing different board members in the future? And I've said that the last 2 terms of council. You know, the last 2 terms of council, I'm like, I'm not comfortable with this. We need to change this because it pays, you know, it only pays about $2,000 a year. I think we need to actually increase it. We need to increase it so the board of directors has time to do more of the research. It is a very skilled board, and you have to have time and energy to dig deep. And being a counselor and having another job, I just know there's only so many hours in a day. So who's to say that all the board members are going to do their due diligence? So that's one thing, overhauling how we appoint the board. The second thing, if that doesn't work, have an exit plan with a merger.
Hey, Sherry, it's Steve here. Just on the merger comment, I guess I'm going to try and play devil's advocate a little bit, because there's always a concern when, you know, you take 2 entities like that and roll them into one, that there's somewhat of a monopoly and that end of things. So at the end of the day, would the ideal goal be to maintain ELK as it is rather than merge?
Well, it depends. Okay, it depends. Can we save it? And that's me speaking very, very frankly from what I see. Okay, and I don't speak hydro, but I do read and research. Is saving it possible? It's like having a car and maybe, you know, not changing your oil ever, or like, can you save it? So that's to be determined. And the other thing is, can we have our cake and eat it too? You know, one of the best things about ELK is if you go online and you compare utility hydro rates, it's not the second lowest, but it's one of the lowest rates out there. Despite what many people think, it is a low charging utility. So that works great. You know, I have businesses in my town that when we've expanded industrial land, they want ELK because it is cheaper. But we have to think cheaper may not always be better. So is there, one of the things if I could question things, which I can't, but one of the things is, are we keeping up with staff certification and staff training? Are we keeping up with staff retention? That's another thing. If you follow ELK on Twitter, they just posted out another position. So I see from the outside, not at the board table, I see a lot of staff turnover. So are they able to keep the skilled, qualified workers that they need to run the utility? And also, are they keeping up with technology in the field? Are they buying the equipment that is state of the art to be able to help the linemen do their job? Another thing in Essex is we have ELK Solutions, which is a parent or a child company of ELK that does our streetlights. That's something that we're noticing. I have a call in for a streetlight actually on Arner right now, and it's out, and I'm told it's going to be a while. Things like that, where
that one's on the Kingsville side.
Yeah. Like, do they have? Do they have enough employees? Is this company healthy enough to survive? And is it modernizing? We want a modern utility. Look at their website. Compare their website to Essex Power Lines. You can't find their board of directors. Like it's very different. It's hard to find some of their things. Like if you spend an hour, go on Essex Power Line, just to give you 2 examples, and go on ELK, they're night and day. So are we doing ourselves justice by keeping it? I don't know. I can't answer that.
So now I guess it's going to come down to election. It's going to be what it'll end up being. This will probably be in Essex, at least. In Kingsville, we sold our stake in it so we could build a building down by the water that doesn't really get used a whole lot. But in Essex, voters in Essex and in Harrow have a choice and can help make a decision.
Absolutely. And I think the voters know me well enough now to know that, hey, if you keep me here, I'm going to continue to get to the bottom of it. I'm not going to brush issues aside, and never have. That's not my style. During the last election in 2018, I made a public pitch on my Facebook to the 4, and I emailed them. I emailed the 4 mayoral candidates in Essex. And I said, at that time, none of them were on the ELK board, and I was just hitting the research jackpot. But I couldn't dig deep into it at the time because I was running, but I knew there was something there. So I said to the 4 mayoral candidates, if I get in, would you support me as chair? Well, with Larry Snively getting in, right away, we were told that Ron McDermott would remain as chair and that the new mayor, Larry Snively, would not take over as chair. So, I think we need to elect a brand of politician that's going to do the research and not close the doors on people doing the research.
So you're going to run for mayor?
Oh, absolutely. That's been widely known.
Is it?
I was campaigning on running for mayor before I ran last time.
Did you officially announce? Because you've been campaigning, but I didn't see that you had announced you're going to run for mayor. I must have missed it.
It's just commonly known. It has everything to do with, this is 12 years, right? This is 12 years of working hard in my council seat. Either you like my style or you don't. And if you do, put me in the big chair. And if you don't, let me watch Netflix and read books, because I cannot work this hard and bang my head against the wall any longer just as a counselor.
What a great statement.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't, no further questions. Jeez. Well, thank you, Councillor Bondy, for taking the time out tonight to speak with us about a mutual issue that both your municipality and ours share. Again, thank you for the hard work and the investigation. I'm glad that there's been some progress. Curious to see where everything lies and what happens this election year, and who decides to take what stance and how things will transpire going on.
Yes, and thank you to the elected officials, especially Kim DeYoung in Kingsville, for assisting with this file, because really she is really representing the businesses in Kingsville, and I've been getting calls from Kingsville businesses and residents, so it's not going away. We have to address it. So I thank you for your time as well. No,
again, very much appreciated. Let's see where this saga goes next. Again,
okay, stay tuned.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Sherry.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow.
Yeah.
Electrifying.
Wow. Well, I knew she'd be charged up, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this was a major point in her campaign run. And for the integrity commissioner to take a stance and say what you're doing. And I just reviewed while we were talking to her, the couple of Facebook posts that are in reference. Like it's a light bulb being taken to the gallows is one of them. For an integrity commissioner to have to take a stance like that and say that what she's doing is completely off base and dock her pay, like that's significant considering some of the issues that have transpired in the town of Essex. Like, wow.
There's been a bit
for someone to offer a personal opinion in a report that, right? If I don't, did she state that was in the report?
Yeah, that's in the report.
Mm-hmm.
That's garbage.
Yeah,
like, you should not be.
The integrity commissioner in the report said that if she was to run for mayor, she would definitely be a maverick mayor.
Yeah,
and that's an opinion.
That's an opinion,
and that's. Anyway,
yeah, we weren't going to talk about the report, but it was significant.
But that's a garbage comment.
Absolutely,
like you make your report based on the facts. You don't.
Yeah,
if you're going to be a judge of ethics, then you probably shouldn't be weighing in with commentary.
Make a comment, yeah, and for her to be vindicated in this, I don't want to call it a crusade, but it's been a bit of a crusade to find the truth. I know that in Kingsville here, I've been contacted personally by a bunch of different business owners asking, if I knew of any methodology or any other opportunity or anything that could be done to raise the issue in our town beyond whatever's already been done. And, as Sherry mentioned, there was the motion from our town council that went to Essex back late last year with regards to do that, because as Sherry mentioned, Essex is the majority shareholder after we sold our interest.
Oh, what did we do with that money?
Moving on.
That was another episode.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I will say though, and so at our farm, which where Liam Maria's is Hydro One.
Mm-hmm.
So when there's going to be a power outage, we get a phone call.
Yeah.
And from this automated number that says there is going to be a power outage from 9 until 11 o'clock on Sunday. I've never received one of those for
because
ELK.
they happen so frequently with ELK. That thing would be running nonstop all the time.
Yeah.
In my old subdivision, there was routine, and I'm not sure because I don't have the time in this subdivision now, the duration of time. We would have power outages almost routinely on bright sunny days, on cold winter days, on average and it would flash, flicker.
Yep.
We would have 10 minutes of outage or half an hour or 30 seconds. And
or just a brownout. But enough to fry a TV.
Which I was just getting to. So I don't know if there was any opportunity for me to recover any costs from some of the electronics that have been burnt out from this flickering or this instability in the grid system. So
can sticking with the power issue, can we just agree that the length of time that it's taken to get the streetlights working on the new section of Jasperson is insanity?
Well, that's Hydro One, right?
It's Hydro One, but it's like, at what point are they going to say, you know what, maybe we need to escalate
There must be microchips in those, that transformers.
Is there nowhere else in all of Essex County that they've built a new road and had to put a transformer in?
Yeah, you just got to look at it, right?
I drove by the other day. There was there were hydro trucks there.
People there, yeah.
Doing, it looked like they were
hanging out,
staring at it.
Yeah. I
assumed the staring was going to move into some form of work, but nope, darkness.
It would be good before, Kingsville Minor Baseball and I believe Kingsville Soccer have just ended their registration periods. So that all is going to pick up right quick, right? When soccer starts, Steve?
I have no idea.
So it's just
about soccer season.
Sure.
Yeah, soccer season.
Wait, I shouldn't say that. I think I saw an email. April 19th?
That's a lot sooner than I thought.
Right, so we got a couple of 2-3 weeks before, there's
3 weeks tomorrow, I think it is.
Heavy traffic in that Jasperson corridor. It'd be great if there was a bypass around it all.
Imagine that.
Wouldn't that be cool?
And now there's confusion because the garbage bags have finally blown off the signs that have been there, since November. So if you don't know and you're driving along and it says no exit, there is actually an exit. It's the only way.
Right, yeah. If you turned around, you wouldn't find any other alternative.
No, you're just going to drive in circles.
Aimlessly, like you followed your GPS into the lake.
Yeah.
Well, we can take that up again. We can raise the issue if it doesn't happen by the next recording.
You know what? if we want. Do we really need streetlights? I mean, cars do have lights. Do you need streetlights there? What's the reason that you need the streetlights?
Because all the children that are going to be in the facilities, right? That's supposed to be an active transportation.
You've got a public path right there that people utilize in the dark.
I mean, there's utilizing it now.
Now, to that note, the amount of streetlights on Road 2's new section, there is one every 8 feet. Like, there is an overabundance of streetlights.
It's like a greenhouse.
You want light pollution?
That doesn't deserve a goose call.
We'll give you light pollution. But there's more information, more fun. I'm breaking stuff, Gary. I'm sorry. More fun happening on Jasperson. So everybody has seen all the construction equipment at the south end of Jasperson and said, "Oh, the school's getting built."
Nope.
No, we discussed this a couple of episodes ago. That's the subdivision.
Right. But apparently the shovel's going in the ground for the school this week or next.
Yes. Apparently this month.
I had heard rumors that the construction trailer has been rented and is going to be placed, if not this week, then next week.
So for everyone
It'd be funny if it was Friday. April Fool's Day. I don't know.
You think you're
Just kidding.
You're not getting to school again. Ho, ho.
Well, so for everyone that doesn't know, the Greater Essex County District School Board, did I get that in the right
Do you
order?
think one of our
Yes.
4 listeners doesn't know?
Probably.
We talk about every single podcast.
about that. They made an announcement. Apparently there was an embargo. There was information. Everybody got all worried because we didn't hear anything. But in the background, they were doing some stuff with the province, with the Ministry of Education. $59 million was awarded to now build the 1,800 student K to 12 school for the town of Kingsville. So, hey, all of our concerns that we raised when we started seeing the costs of construction rise, and still with the old budget of $44 million being the only information we were provided, that's now been addressed and funded. So, hey, we don't have to fundraise like crazy. I don't have to buy 9,000 tubs of popcorn just to, we need another $7 million, guys.
Well, but to that, just as a reminder, the plan for the school was fairly streamlined, and this doesn't include any expansion to what those streamlined plans were. This is just making up for cost dollar changes from the original budget,
right? As they've indicated in the press release. So that's 1,045 elementary school aged seats and 753 secondary school seats in the approved design that was released early 2021.
And Steve, you'll know this better than I do. I'm trying to remember. No cafeteria, no track.
No, there's no athletic amenities included in this funding. So the funding is basically the school itself, and the design put forward does not include a cafeteria.
Correct. It was that approved design.
Yes,
has now been funded.
Yeah, you said the design, it hasn't, and there were some. I don't want to say flaws. There were some concerns with the design because I know it was brought forward to a lot of the, let's call them stakeholders, people involved in the building and such, but it's going forward as was originally presented. So, it's sort of a good news, okay news story, if you will. Good news that the funding's there to offset the increase in costs over the past few years, but okay news in that there's probably still some concerns with the design itself, but
it's unfortunate that the 15 million extra is now just going to build the same thing, right? If they had done the original timetable as intended, this school would have been open in September of 23. So construction would have started in, I want to say, 2019, 2020
yeah.
in order to do so.
And it could be open. Yeah.
And it could be open. So that 15 million of additional budget that we were awarded, is just going to execute the same plan that they'd already just delayed. So that's the unfortunate bit.
Yeah. We were kind of talking about it with the kids the other night, and we worked out that our youngest would be potentially part of the last graduating class at Kingsville Public School.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, and our oldest would be, well, she would get grade 9 at the current KDHS,
Yeah.
and then off to the new school if the timeline goes as we hope. But just going back to your comment about the track and stuff, I mean, Leamington were able to get a generous donation, and it's sponsored Nature Fresh Field. The location of the new Kingsville School does have the benefit of the fact that the soccer fields and the arena, baseball, are all right there, literally. I mean, you jump the creek and there you are. I say jump the creek because I don't know when they're taking the road. Where to go? No, there'll be the bridge over it.
Right.
But the number of times you will see, if you travel at certain times of the day, a number of high school kids that walk to the arena to play tennis or use the arena facilities. It's a shorter walk.
So even with that being said, that's a municipally owned facility, and the Board of Education doesn't have rights to supplant any other municipally programmed events at the recreation complex.
No, I know when I coached soccer at KPS for a few years that schools do request usage of the fields from the town of Kingsville.
Sure.
They can't just go on and say, oh, we're going to play our games here.
Yeah. So, I can see there being a little bit of a conflict maybe with the, almost 2,000 students at a time. And now the town is starting to increase programming through the day, through the summer months at least, and through the winter, there's some. I can see there being maybe an issue of, hey, too many people want to use the same facility, and
Well, that sounds like bargaining leverage. Because there's going to be a couple schools going up for sale.
You're smarter than you look, Mr. Black. You're smarter than you look. Yeah, and not to mention, not only that, but I think that the Kingsville Recreation Complex doesn't satisfy all of the needs of today's recreation equipment, right? There is no indoor track, which we know. The arena facilities is satisfactory, but even with that being said, the amount of indoor activity space is fairly limited, and it's being possibly allocated towards other resources because of the town not having enough facility space for the municipal staff. So,
well, one thing too that the town doesn't really have is that showpiece field. Like it doesn't have a spot where you can host a senior high school soccer game and have some bleachers and have it look like anything more than just standing in a farm field.
And it's a fair point. We did actually host OFSA soccer in 2016 at the arena fields, and the fields themselves were fine, but the nets are actually, I think, 9 inches short of what's the standard height. I think it's about 8 feet, because we had the referee come down and he okayed it. And the tournament went ahead, and we had fantastic buy-in for the community. But you're right. You think about what Leamington has as far as soccer fields, and now Amherstburg has it. Which one's there's the Volmer?
Yeah,
the
Libro.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Volmer's in LaSalle.
Yeah.
And Tecumseh.
Yeah.
And, while, I think our baseball facilities are strong. There's definitely, you're right, the need for that real draw, if you will.
Yeah, well, and it doesn't just have to be soccer.
No.
If Kingsville was ever to reprise their football team,
what? Why would we do such a thing like that?
You never know.
That equipment was from when I went to high school. I guarantee you they still have it somewhere in storage.
And I don't mean in the jest, but we could host a fantastic pickleball tournament.
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
Like, so there's a lot of nice stuff.
yeah. That's it. That pickleball courts, those pickleball courts, that pickleball complex has not even been broken in because it opened, at the end of the season and hasn't quite been fully appreciated for what it is. Now, I understand they're even wanting to improve it as well with some other shading and other outbuildings and things like that to better satisfy and suit their needs.
Well, I see that I received an email about soccer reffing, and I think it stated they've got somewhere close to 700 youth sign up to play soccer this year. So you factor in a soccer night with a pickleball night, with a tennis night, with a baseball night.
Better get that road open.
yeah, no kid. Well, and
No,
that's
but
cool.
it's
Yeah, exactly.
it's gonna be fantastic in a lot of ways and a lot of fun. Parking, people are gonna have to be very careful and conscientious, but
Yeah, as Jasperson's becoming a very popular north-south route parallel to Division, as will the perimeter road at the end of Heritage on the west side of town.
Yeah.
Eventually, we've got these major arteries. I know Prince Albert's being served as one right now, currently, as Gary so enjoys. But the if we've got this collection of people and all these kids running around, it's gonna have to be carefully monitored.
Yeah.
So
we figure shovels in the ground. If it does get going in the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
sure.
Then the thought is when for opening?
September 2024.
2024.
Yeah. So Fortis Construction won the tender. They're currently finishing the Amherstburg dual campus for Western and General Amherst. I can't remember what the road is that it's on.
Simcoe.
Simcoe, thank you.
Simcoe and Fryer.
Yeah, I was in Amherstburg on the weekend. It's almost complete. I believe they're targeting their opening for this September. Yeah. So
North Star High School.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is how I wanted to round out this conversation. Controversially?
Yeah, well, it became a whole thing, right?
Did it? Oh, yes, it did. I apologize. I did know about this.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. That's where I wanted to round out this conversation about our school. What do you think it's going to be called?
Oh, geez. I don't. Okay.
Oh, my God.
I could give you a lot of.
Yeah. Well, no, this is. You heard it here first, folks.
So someone suggested that the name Harrow should be in the title. Well, I understand that, a lot
Should
of
ask
students
this to Sherry Bondy.
do come from Harrow to Kingsville.
Sure. They can go to Amherstburg too.
But so if you're going to include Harrow in the name, if you want to include Harrow in the name, you need to include Kingsville in the name. I don't think it's going to have either.
Nope.
It's going to be something.
I think it's a detriment to the community if there isn't a school named Jack Miner. And I understand that there could be some ramifications of moving one school name to another school.
Does he have any tweets in his history that might be controversial? Or honks?
Don't think so.
Think about it. No, Kingsville Public School is not going to take offense to that because.
And my first dad joke and they ignored me. Jeez.
Because this is getting intense. No, but
I was worried about Time Cobb references.
No,
I know what you're saying.
Didn't go there.
But doesn't need to be. I mean, we have the Jack Miner Bird Sanctuary.
But shouldn't lots of communities fall into the trap of doing this, but I do think that Jack Miner is a renowned Kingsville citizen and should be honored. That it's an honor to have your name on a school.
So I'll say this, and I'm not going to weigh in on whether North Star was the right or wrong name or what I think about that. However, I do feel that if you're the only high school in the community, the community name should be in there some way, somehow. So like you're looking at the schedule of high school athletics and you're playing, we're playing Essex, or we're playing General Amherst as it is right now. You're playing Amherstburg.
What about Cardinal Carter? What about Ursuline College or John McGregor or the Pines or Catholic Central?
Okay, so
Kent
John
County.
McGregor
and
the Pines and Ursuline College are all in the same community. I'm talking communities with one high school.
One high. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Sorry. So where's Windsor High School?
Well, they have multiple.
Riverside.
Yeah.
I'm just saying
neighborhoods. Okay.
Yeah.
One specific one high school in the entire community, right?
Leamington District.
Vista is Tecumseh Vista.
Yeah.
The Catholic Board has done it differently and it works. It's not Leamington Cardinal Carter. It's not Lakeshore St. Anne's or anything like that. But
that's how they differentiate themselves from the public board.
Sure.
And they have that's
religious reasons.
You've got Bell River.
Yeah.
Where's Bell River High School? Oh, look. Right?
Essex. No, I'm headed. Essex is the easiest one. Essex High School.
Right? It was Harrow. It was General Amherst, Kingsville, Leamington. It's
Wheatley, Blenheim District High School. One for the community. So, okay, gentlemen, where are we at then? Where are we at?
I'm 100% behind Jack Miner School. I don't know.
For children?
For
For learning.
For learning.
Well, then you can say, well, who's the mascot? You're going to bring in
The-
you're
it's
bring
gonna
in
be
the Jaguar.
Honker.
Honker
No.
the Goose.
You've got the Jaguars and the Cobras and the Cavaliers, and you've got the high school who have they've got their merchandise and stuff like that, and a lot of Cavalier stuff, as all the schools do. Then are we going to just
Yeah, it'll like honker.
Yeah.
do we?
It's like the flying
Is the
V.
elementary school a different?
Be the flying
to
V.
the
That's their war
high
cry,
school.
the flying V. Come on. They migrate.
I'm
I
glad you guys get the floor when you're trying to make a serious point, and I sit there quietly, and all I'm trying to do is make some points. And
No,
I'm
you're-
getting honked at, and you're. So you know what? I'm done. Again, I'll just
You're
sit here
right.
quietly.
You're right.
Yeah.
I to your point, I don't think that the different levels should have a different name, because
No.
the whole point is to make it a smooth transition. I think that it should be the same.
But that's the difficulty, right? It's the identifier. I get what you're saying about the the regional identifier is Kingsville's high school. It was Harrow's high school. It was Leamington's high school.
Right.
The difficulty therein lies we're in a greater community area now. We encompass part of Essex in this region. So how do you not have an acronym that's 93 characters long?
Like South Shore. It's gonna be like South
No,
Shore.
and
South
right.
Shore.
So no, but
South Point.
all I'm
South
saying
Shore.
is if the name Harrow is somehow in the name of the school, the name Kingsville should be in there too.
Could the mascot not reflect Harrow then? Could we not, split the difference?
The Rams.
Or no,
They were
like,
the Rams,
like the,
weren't they?
the
Yeah.
farm implement that is called the Harrow.
Oh, the Harrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that is their mascot,
Yeah.
the Harrow.
Yeah.
Go heroines.
Harrow.
Oh, that's encroaching on some dangerousness.
Oh no.
Yes.
I don't know. I think you're right, Steve. It should be regionally significant. I don't know necessarily if they're going to identify an individual, because if naming trends are anything, as of recently, there hasn't been a school named after an individual in a long time.
Agreed. I just think that it's wrong that there won't be a school named after Jack Miner in Kingsville. That
Well,
it
he
just
won't
doesn't
know.
seem right.
He
But
won't
you
know.
could name a section of the school, the Jack Miner. This is the Jack Miner Gymnasium, or right. There's
Yeah.
ways of incorporating the history. But the thing is, though, too, is Jack Miner Public School wasn't originally Jack Miner Public School. It was Gosfield South Public
yeah.
School, and it was only, I think, in the 50s. It had been open a few years, and then in the 50s, I believe they took on the name.
I went to Gosfield South
Okay.
Well, okay, it's Gary, you're
for
dating
2
yourself.
years.
And then,
Okay.
and then you went to Jack Miner after that.
And then I came to Kingsville.
Yeah,
No, so
yeah, we have a very storied past in Kingsville. There's a lot of heritage. There's a lot of heartstrings being pulled for sentiment of, nostalgia.
Yeah, we can't call it like Hiram's Casino High School.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if the word Metawas didn't come into play. I know,
No,
Gary.
I
I'm sorry.
don't like it.
I don't like it either, but that's where I'm putting my money.
but that was more related to gambling and
I understand that.
It's
but,
already a beautiful park
and beach and
and beach.
gazebo
Gazebo.
restaurant.
yeah. But see, that's Kingsville significant. That isn't. It's independent of everything else. It's not an individual. It's not South Shore, South Point. And what are you going to call it? The pickerel, like the Kingsville pickerel, is the mascot, or the perch? The Kingsville
The perch.
Oh, I would get down with that. I'd buy perch merch.
Perch merch.
I like it.
What's served in the cafeteria if they had one? Perch sandies all day long. Come on, it sells itself. I'm in marketing now, but I think that's where it's going to come down to. It's either going to be something stupid like the South Point secondary or facility
You
or
can't
whatever.
name it after that paper.
Oh.
The Observer,
The South Point Sun.
I know.
The sun.
But it's going to be something like that, or it's going to be something very neutral to the point of it's just distinction of an area, like the Metawas name.
Still think it should be Jack Miner.
I think Kingsville should be in there.
Listen, we won't know for at least another year and a
Kingsville
half.
Regional High School. There you go.
Oh,
Ugh.
I hate
Yeah,
it.
but it's not high school though. It's K-12.
KRHS, the curse.
Kingsville Regional Academy.
Academy.
Ew.
Well, everything's an academy. It's
Yeah.
Westview Freedom Academy.
Academy,
Tecumseh
yeah.
Vista Academy.
Well, I guess they have to, right? Because they can't be high school or public school or.
Mm,
And maybe, with Amherstburg, it's just a secondary school, right?
KRA.
They're
yeah,
closing they're closing Western and they're closing General Amherst.
Right,
and
and
rolling
twin
it into
campusing.
one.
Maybe
Yeah.
we could just get a cool nickname like the Pines, like just called the Goose.
The
Where are you
V.
going? I go to the Goose.
I go to the
Well,
V.
yeah, well, it's called the Pines because it's surrounded by pine trees. I don't want the school surrounded by geese.
Yeah, but what else in Chatham do you want to be around, right? Like, you're not going to name your school after an ethanol refinery, are you?
The corn. Go to the corn.
Oh, gentlemen, we're recording on a council evening, so we don't have some results from council, but I will talk about what they are going to talk about currently. Well, we could just put it up on the screen and simulcast it, but yeah, whatever. I will
watch council with That Kingsville Podcast.
Yes, join us.
Viewing parties.
How excruciating would that be? We're into hour 6 of this live cast.
That's a great notice of motion there. Did you hear that notice of motion? That's a great notice of
We
motion.
need more beer from Kingsville Brewery to sustain us through this. Anyhow, as I teased earlier, they are talking about returning to in-person meetings on April 11th and rescinding the vaccination policy. So we'll see what comes out of that. They're also talking about extending the interim control bylaw on Main Street East. There's a couple of areas of designation which were at a 1-year duration for that interim control bylaw. There's been some applications towards utilization of some of those properties, so they are administration is putting forth a motion to extend that because they are hoping that the official plan, which is due for adoption in next meeting, will reflect all of the things that they've collected as a result of why this interim control bylaw was enacted. So we got all of that's going down. Oh, and there's a closed session talking about our favorite place in the entire town of Kingsville. Everybody know where that is, 183 Main Street.
Oh.
Yeah.
What was happening there?
It's closed session.
Which one's that again?
Right across from the medical center issue building.
Oh, right.
The red one.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
There's a house on that one. The Heritage.
The Bon Jasperson house. Yeah.
Yeah, there's an application for that, right?
Just one.
Yeah.
Just one. So closed session. Don't know what they're discussing. Probably won't know until
It'll be illegal.
whatnot. Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be preparations for
the tribunal.
Yeah.
So
maybe they had some settlement discussions.
could very well be. Who knows?
Just wild speculation.
Closed session. No. Things are coming up because Easter's coming. We have the mayor's Easter egg hunt is back, gentlemen. April 16th, 10 o'clock to noon, Lakeside Park. Excited?
Oh, so excited. Not
that excited?
Kids are older now.
Well, they've got an event tailored to our age group of kids. His age group of kids are going to be up the hill. Ours will be down the hill. So from 10 to 12, festivities, Easter Bunny, pictures, laughs, ha ha ha.
And great news because, when the Easter Bunny came to some of the previous ones, you may have noticed like the Easter Bunny, when he got to Kingsville, he was looking a little
Haggard.
scary.
Yep.
Like a little frightening.
Yep.
Like there's a chance that the Easter Bunny that was coming for pictures in Kingsville was on Donnie Darko. Like it was.
What a reference. That is a reference for about 4 people in the entirety of the listening body.
Well, I mean, it was frightening. So, word is that when the Easter Bunny comes this year, he's going to be looking his best. Going to be spruced up.
He's had a couple of years to
A spruced up Easter Bunny. He's been working out. He's getting fit.
Exactly.
He's getting trim.
I wish he went to the gym with me.
Taking his beta carotene.
Oh,
Steven, gosh, I love you.
that's excellent.
Oh
Yes, that's no yoke.
This is why
There
we
it
do
is.
this. This is why we do this.
What the shell's going on here?
You hopped right on that.
Gary won't even do it anymore. Customer service survey. Town of Kingsville is asking for a customer service survey. Currently on their website, there's a bunch of questions asking about whether or not you think they're doing a good job. It's a Survey Monkey link. You can find it on kingsville.ca. It will be up till April 8th. I strongly suggest if you are one of our concerned listeners in the town of Kingsville,
If you have any concerns,
voice your opinion. Please use the proper channels.
This is the way to voice concerns.
Well,
I asked one of the people at the town who helps organize some of the surveys, and I was, and not that I would think that there needed to be votes, but they are using the emoji system, and I kind of thought, like the throw up emoji wasn't there. Wouldn't that be the
It
lowest?
should be. It should be.
Like just not neutral. Face.
no,
Like,
it should be.
and at the other end, you can have like mind exploding.
They go, this
emoji.
is
like this
fantastic.
is mind blowing. Like
Benefit for Ukraine, Tuesday, April 5th, 4:30 to 6:30 at our favorite place in Kingsville, the Grovedale. Pasta dinner fundraiser, Tuesday, April 5th, benefit for Ukraine. Finally, Highland Games coming June 5, gents, coming. It's April. $15 a person for early bird tickets up until the end of April. So if you are interested in attending the Highland Games and budget is of the utmost concern because of gas prices and whatnot. I don't know, Steve, you tried buy butter lately?
Yeah. Don't be sheepish about the Highland Games.
No.
Come on out.
Gary looks so sour because you were working on that one.
yeah.
Kingsville.ca website to purchase your early bird tickets.
Don't forget, you can check out that official Kingsville tartan.
I
They
forgot.
they purchased all that.
Fabric.
He was gonna
fabric.
bring it up.
Oh,
It's
geez.
exciting.
It is exciting. What else we got?
How many
here?
bolts of fabric did they get again? I forget.
100? I don't know. We listened to an old episode from
Yeah.
when we talked about it. I think
It was a while ago.
Yeah. Well, that about does it for us here on this episode.
Oh, shouldn't we talk about the Greenway concert series?
Oh, the green. Oh, gee, I have a note. I apologize.
Yeah.
I do have a note.
they
The
announced their lineup.
Yes, the Greenway Jam. So the current Folk Fest or the former Folk Fest is changing the format. So the Greenway Jam, the Kingsville Music Society has just debuted their lineup, and it's got Ashley McIsaac and Stephen Page and a couple other folks I don't know.
Catherine. She used to open for the Hip all the time. Kathleen Edwards. I think that's right, or is that a person? Well, she's a person, but that might be a person I know.
You're
I
really,
don't think she's a robot.
you're really selling it. You are really selling it.
Who's the
here.
person in the bottom corner?
That was Stephen Page, I think.
No, he's in the top right.
Oh,
Ashley McIsaac was in the bottom.
No,
Right,
No, he's
wasn't
in the
he?
bottom right.
Yeah.
Who's in the bottom left? It was that other person that's going to be there.
for the with a face and
Yeah.
the music.
Not a robot, but
Not a
it
robot.
sounds like it's going to be
coming up here.
Gonna be
Come on,
great.
More info.
Gonna be great.
Greenway Jam. Oh man.
Yeah.
Greenway Jam.
Yeah, just
more info.
scrolling.
God, the internet's.
We're just
If only we had
you know,
5G in Kingsville. Headliner Kathleen Edwards. She's the Friday
Oh,
headliner.
well done.
Stephen
There,
Page,
thanks.
Saturday headliner. And then the other folks are there. So,
Ashley McIsaac.
Ashley McIsaac. Yeah.
Yep, Ashley McIsaac.
Does he still live in Windsor? Do we know?
No
he still
idea.
lived in Windsor, I think. Didn't he at some point?
So
There's
Friday,
something
August
with Windsor.
Friday, August 12th, 6
Maybe
to
learn how to play
11.
the fiddle in Windsor.
There's a main stage at our wonderful sponsor for this That Kingsville podcast. Kingsville Brewery has a main stage down in the green space to the west of the brew or the
Northwest.
beer garden, northwest.
No, just west.
Westy?
Northwest.
Yeah, beside it.
Westish.
Let's not go with the compass direction. So
If the sun is setting, you will still see it.
because there's so mean. Yeah, Friday, August 12th, 6 to 11, main stage at the brewery. Saturday, August 13th, noon to 5, daytime session stages at Metawa Station Restaurant, the green space adjacent to south of the restaurant. Indoors, outdoors at the Grove Tap House, and indoors at the Grovedale Arts and Culture Center. Saturday, August 13th, 6 to 11, main stage beside the Kingsville Brewery. Sunday, August 14th, noon to 4 p.m., wrap-up party at Peely Island Winery. Tickets are available on the website.
Ooh, that stage beside Meadows is a
Is it-
floodplain. I hope it doesn't rain.
Actually, you're right, it is.
yeah. That could cause some damage.
Early bird tickets are available for 3-day passes, $70. You can find them on the Brown Paper Tickets website or go to the Kingsville Music Society website and click all the wonderful links like I just did here because I did that now. So I apologize. I did have a note, but in all of my notes that I was taking in a rushed
Hey, we're on it.
because of
Okay,
sharing and
just
whatnot.
all you have to do is turn the Stephen Page.
Oh, gosh. You know what, Steve? We're going to do this at the beginning of the episode. Speaking of which.
Should we talk about Canada too? Just quick.
Yeah, I was just going to say, can we talk
Yeah,
about
we have to.
Canada?
No, we have to.
You
Canada.
guys-
Canada.
You guys can.
and the fact that
Oh, they're.
Italy aren't going?
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
I'm not allowed to talk about that.
Oh, okay. I'll
No.
just talk about
No, there's a half
however-
of my family is very upset.
However, so Yeah, this is
I'm not overly upset, but
You know,
half of my family is.
a 4-0 win over Jamaica, and here we are. Canada, for only the second time ever and the first time since 1986, are off to the World Cup.
You know what?
To lose in the first round.
No, because I say that.
Please.
However, this team is building, and the amount of young talent they have, and the thing is with the World Cup is, it may very well happen. They may lose in the first round. The draw, I think, is it this week?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll know by the end of the week who they're up against. But what this is going to do beyond the fan, 33,000 fans at BMO Field yesterday.
Yeah.
Just going haywire. The grassroots level, it's going to grow even more.
Well, and not just that, it builds in because they have an automatic berth in the next World Cup.
Yes,
so they're
one
going
of the
to
three
doubling up.
Yeah, so they're guaranteed to be in the next. So that's 8 years of World Cup competition that we get to really. I guess 4 like this year, and then
5. We'll say 5.
Okay, call it 5.
Yeah.
So then, but that's a long time to build the sport, get money and infrastructure and investment into the sport.
And what's interesting about this Canadian team is the top players right now. Alphonso Davies is, I think, around 19 or 20 years old. He's going to be not even probably be in his prime for the second World Cup.
Yeah.
Jonathan David is one of the most sought after strikers in Europe right now. Plays for Lille in France, but he's been linked with all the top clubs in Europe. He's early 20s.
We have a local connection though too, don't we?
We do somewhat. I mean, Steven Eustachio was born in Leamington. I don't know how old he was when he moved to Portugal, but he's
still
developed there. And I saw a quote from him today, basically saying I love, or along the lines of, I love the fact that I chose to play for Canada.
Well, and it's interesting because he was able to come back and play for Canada because of a rule change, right? At the national level. Because he originally played for the under 20 Portugal team.
You can. It's once you get your first senior cap, so basically playing for the full national team. I think at that point you are cap tied. So you can play, because I know Asmir Begovic was I think born in Bosnia, moved to Canada at a young age, was Canada's goalkeeper when they hosted the U19 several 12, 15 years ago. And then I think ended up playing for his native country, even though he played for Canada at a younger age. So you can do that. What's interesting too is there's a couple of young guys in Europe right now that there's a guy, his last name, I don't want to mispronounce his first name, but his last name is Tomori, born in Calgary. He's playing in Italy, but he's eligible to represent England. And I don't think he's been capped. And the cap is basically once a game for your national team. He's eligible still. And there's another young player for Arsenal in England. I believe Flores is his last name. He's eligible to play for Mexico. He's eligible to play for Canada. He may also be eligible to play for England, but he hasn't decided yet who he's playing for. So, Canada qualifying now and Canada qualifying already in 5 years is further incentive for these guys to decide to play for Canada because, realistically, they've got a much better chance of being capped and playing for Canada than they do England or Italy or, some of the other countries they're eligible for.
And for a lot of these guys, it's a good showcase for them to land big jobs, So it's if they get tied to a country that's not going to, continuously make the World Cup, they don't get that opportunity to showcase their stuff on the world's biggest stage in front of billions of people.
Yeah.
So it's Qatar this year?
Yes, in December.
And
which is weird because,
it's always a summer tournament, but the heat is just searing.
And Qatar isn't exactly the greenest country geographically in the summer. So I would say that, having it in December, so the next World Cup, has that been announced? Where
yes,
it will be?
Canada, US, and Mexico.
Holy shnikes.
Yeah.
2026.
What a home field advantage from the entire continent of North America.
And if I forget how that worked, but Canada's guaranteed like some fairly deep matches in that.
Well, as a host nation, you are a seeded nation. So
but what I mean, yes, but what they we'll get good good games. Like it's
Yes.
like you go to BMO Field, it's going to be a good or
Right. They haven't. I know they've been doing sort of interviews, if you will, for host cities. Obviously, the U.S. has got.
They'll have the big
more
yeah,
better.
they'll have
venues.
the big ones.
More better.
But
Azteca will probably have some massive games. There as well, right?
Sure. But I know, like with Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton, the capacity is 77,000 roughly, or something crazy like that. But I know it needs some upgrades in order to get to maybe FIFA's specifications.
Maybe they'll fix all the cracks in the Big O in Montreal.
Ooh,
Hey, there's a thing. So yeah, Soccer Canada, lots of opportunity. Again, small local connection of sorts and whatnot. Interesting. We got so what now? What's the next step for Team Canada? Because they're in,
Right. So they'll be
they have a game against Panama that means nothing.
right this week. They'll play some friendlies in order to get the team together, so to speak. So I think that you're allowed 23 players in your squad. So they'll have to narrow that down. There's obviously going to be some disappointments, but they'll play probably maybe a couple of games in June. And then there's usually an international break in September, maybe October. They'll get a couple of games. So usually what will happen is they'll, because most of the players would play in Europe, Canada would set up a friendly with one of the European nations. So
Wrexham.
Yeah.
I know that reference.
Ted Lasso will be there too.
Yeah.
Man, it was nice.
That's Richmond.
Yes. No, but Wrexham's Ryan Reynolds' team. Yeah.
It was nice to feel some pride seeing people waving the flag too.
And on that note, thanks for joining us for this episode. Absolutely, now it's gonna be a sea of red and white all summer long.
I can't wait.
I'm sure we're gonna see nothing but flags as we get closer and closer to the tournament. Of course, December being winter here, we might have to brush the snow off of those hood flags as usually represented in this area. So it's gonna be interesting.
It's gonna be unusual. What's nice too is having two teams to root for. This is
slow
incredible.
down.
Oh,
England.
look at you.
Yeah.
You just jump from one bandwagon to the next. No.
It'd be like the Portuguese when Portugal gets knocked out and they just go support Brazil.
They use the language. It's all right. They were settled. It's fine. Thanks again for joining us on this episode of That Kingsville Podcast. I want to remind you, if you need any sound or audio production, this podcast is produced by Gary Glass from Quantum Sound Productions.
You're going to end up with a horse head in your bed.
QuantumSoundProductions.ca. Thanks, Gary. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on this episode. We'll see you next time.